There we go. Well, we are live, Colette. So hello,
Yes.
everyone. Hi, my name is Anissa Asaibi George. I hope everyone had a very happy Thanksgiving yesterday. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly broadcast. For those of you who haven't been following my Lunch and Learn series, welcome. For those of you who have been, welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for joining us. Every Friday at 12:30, I've been on Facebook Live for a Lunch and Learn series to provide updates on the BPS Ready Plan and to discuss issues that come up with reopening schools during COVID with stakeholders and BPS staff. Since September 11th, I've joined parents, teachers, students, advocates, and administrators to discuss topics like language access, special education services, access to technology, food distribution, homeless services, mental health services, and much more. You can watch all of my previous broadcasts on the video section of my Facebook page. I'll also post a link to previous broadcasts in the chat. Today, we're changing it up just a little bit. We're taking a break from our regular schedule and giving a preview of plans for the broadcast series next year. In January, we're shifting gears for a series focused on community impact players and leaders and organizations in Boston doing innovative work to tackle some of our most pressing social issues. The Community Impact Series will feature family shelter providers, mental health services, youth advocacy groups, and more for a deep dive into their efforts. If you have organizations or guests you'd recommend for those broadcasts, please submit them at bit.ly/Anissa Lunch. Since it's Black Friday, the topic of today's broadcast is supporting small businesses during COVID and during the holiday shopping season. And especially because it's Black Friday, I think we'll spend some of our time today focused on Black-owned businesses here in the city of Boston. As some of you know, I am a small business owner of a local yarn and knitting shop, and sewing shop here in Dorchester called the Stitch House. When I think about the work ahead, efforts to recover from the financial impact of COVID-19, I think about how critical it is that we're making sure that small businesses are not just surviving, but that they are thriving. Small businesses are so much more than a place to buy. They are community hubs. They are where our young people get their first jobs, like I did as a high school student. They are what makes our neighborhood special. They are the entrepreneurial engines inspiring future small business owners like myself. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Colette Phillips as our guest for this discussion. She is president of Colette Phillips Communications, a strategic public relations firm and diversity and inclusion communications firm. She is also the founder of Get Connected, Boston's cross-cultural business networking event series, and what a series it is. Recently, she launched GK, or Get Connected, GK Market, Boston's first online multicultural marketplace for small businesses. Throughout our conversation today, we'll be taking time for Q&A. Please send your questions in the comments section, and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. But the first thing we always do, Colette, when we get started with our Lunch and Learn series is we ask, what's for lunch?
What's for lunch? Well, hopefully there are leftovers, but if you are not interested in leftovers, I hope that you will go shop at a small business takeout that's doing catering. There are many restaurants that you can pull up and pick up. So I hope you're doing that. I had a leftover turkey sandwich with cranberry sauce and a cranberry and ginger soda. So that was good. That was
I like that. That sounds like a great lunch. Tell me, well, I'll tell you first what I'm having for my lunch. We eat our Thanksgiving dinner. We ate it a little bit late in the afternoon yesterday, so I usually do a bigger breakfast. And yesterday, a lot of the typical functions that I'd go to on Thanksgiving morning weren't happening. So I was able to make French toast. So I had a late breakfast, some leftover French toast from yesterday. But my lunch is hardly a lunch at all. It is leftover blueberry pie from yesterday. So
I love it.
it's quite the treat, minus the ice cream.
Right.
We'll add that. I've gone way overboard on the caloric intake as we should be doing. But, you mentioned the takeout today. It's so important that we support our local businesses, our restaurants, both, dining. If you're able to sit outside for this last weekend, or if they've got some outside a patio or something like that, it's so good to support our local businesses and the employees in those businesses. This weekend, and I happened to do a tweet about it this morning, because I had a conversation earlier this morning with some folks at City Hall that are concerned about some of our businesses, and those restaurants and bars are preparing at the end of this month, which is Monday, to switch from no on-street dining, but also a lot of their bills are coming due. We think about the end of the month, bills are due for so many of our restaurants and bars. So I encourage everyone to get out and eat local, order that takeout, and buy a gift card. If you can buy a gift card to your favorite establishments, again, restaurants or retailers, and use that gift card post-pandemic, if at all possible. If you can do that, that's really good, because our local businesses are dealing with some serious cash flow issues as we go into the holiday season. So tell me about your favorite takeout restaurant here in the city of Boston. Where are the places?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I love to go to Foley's, and even though it's all the way in Dorchester, I love going there to support them, because they are part of the Get Connected Taste of Ethnic Boston. I also like Daryl's Corner Bar and Restaurant. And I also love to support Flames, when I'm in my mood for my own Caribbean food. There is a Flames just down the street from where I am, so I'll go get some curried goat or curried chicken or oxtail and rice and peas, and just pick a little, because you and I have been on this weight loss journey, and I was looking at photos of us like 4 years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, we are like half the people we used to be. And it's so healthy and important to eat healthy, but also to support our small businesses. I have to tell you that, and I'm sure it's the same for you because you're a small business owner, that when the pandemic started, I realized for me, I had 3 revenue streams: my PR business, Get Connected, and also I am the minority business partner to JCDecaux, the people who are the advertising concessionaires for Massport. Well, every aspect of my business was affected. My 2 anchor clients, one is in the hospitality business, the other is in real estate and development, and they stopped work. And the same thing with the hotel, hospitality industry.
And it was overnight. It was immediate.
Exactly. So they put their accounts on pause, and then nobody was flying in. I actually had to return funds to advertisers who had already bought space at the airport for the marathon, and also for a big medical convention that was going to happen in May. So they paid up front for the advertising. So their monies had to be returned. And then you also had Get Connected. And even though Get Connected is what I call my giving back to the community, we charge a nominal fee. And that business too, I had to quickly pivot and go online. And I have to say that for our corporate partners, I applaud them because, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Eastern Bank, KPMG, and Tufts Health Plan, and many others, Mass General Hospital, they actually continued and actually paid their sponsorship level because they realize, one, as a small business, who is providing a service to the community and to their own companies, they wanted to make sure that we were able to continue to do that. So I applaud them for that. And
We'll
I
have
was
to think post pandemic, Colette. We'll have to think about ways to celebrate those bigger businesses in particular.
I absolutely agree, because my friend at State Street Bank, Paul Francisco, I went into my office, like during the pandemic, I'd go into the office because I had to go get the mail. And there I opened an envelope, and there was a check for partnership for 2021, 2022, 2020. And I called Paul up. I said, Paul, I would not blame you if you decided that we were in the middle of a pandemic and you weren't going to renew your partnership. And he said to me, you need this support more so now than ever. And we need you to be able to continue to do what you're doing online and in a new venue, because it's so important. And that was just such a gave me such a warm feeling and an appreciation that these big companies really do understand the realities. And that's why I decided to create the GK Market, because I couldn't just imagine what was happening for small business, because I am a small business, but I've been around for over 2 decades. So I could not imagine what is happening to the small business on Main Street, and with people social distancing, people not being able to come in. How do they pay their rent? Nobody's showing up to buy. And I thought, we are doing so much more shopping now online. Why not think about creating an online platform that would give businesses, small businesses, an opportunity to continue to move their goods and services, even if they had to give up their physical space, because they couldn't meet the rent. And then there are some companies, some small micro companies, that don't even have a website. They don't have a digital presence. Well, this platform gives them an opportunity to do so. And again, I was very grateful to people like Saskia Epstein from PNC Bank, and Nancy Steger and Bob Rivers from Eastern Bank, and Andrea Silbert from the EOS Foundation, and also the Himes Foundation, all of whom contributed to helping to underwrite this platform.
It's so important, because I know with my own business, with the Stitch House,
yes,
we're an in-person experience. You're coming in, you want to feel the yarn, you want to look at the fabrics, you're taking classes, and we were very much not prepared. We had a website that was well designed, but not interactive, in the sense that we were selling a lot of stuff and products through our website. And that's not really how our customers want to shop. And overnight, the world changed. And I feel, a number of yarn shops in the city of Boston have not been able to get through this challenging time. And so when I think about the work ahead, doing it in partnership with these big guys, especially because they can help with that creating that solid foundation.
Absolutely.
The priority right now is helping businesses get through this difficult time. But immediately following, during sort of that period of recovery, we've got to be right in there.
We have to be ready. Yeah. And I really want to applaud you and your colleagues on the city council. I mean, you guys have been upfront, and I want to also give a shout out to the mayor, who really, from the very beginning, recognized the need to support small businesses and created that resiliency fund that was able to, give grants to small businesses. And then our governor did the same thing twice. So in a lot of ways, we here in Boston and in Massachusetts are lucky that we have a mayor in Boston and a governor who understand the reality that small business are truly the economic engine of our communities. And I just can't encourage people enough. Today is small business, tomorrow is small business Saturday, today is Black Friday. Please, please, please think about the businesses that have been impacted by two pandemics, by COVID-19 and the social distancing and remote working and all of that, and racial inequity.
Mhm.
And if you truly care about making a difference and you want to support multicultural companies, Black owned companies, women owned companies, please go to the GK Market. It's Get Connected with a K/market, and support the businesses that are in and on that marketplace. We already have 5,000 and
Oh,
growing.
wow. That's
And
amazing.
growing.
That's
So-
amazing.
And
Well,
I
I
want to
hope after
encourage.
today's conversation, it continues to grow because it's so important.
Absolutely.
And we certainly look forward to and appreciate, as you said, our city council, my colleagues have been so engaged in this work. Our mayor, our governor have been really front and center, making sure that we're supporting small businesses. But the difficulties remain. And, I think
Absolutely.
with being a retailer, I'm very lucky that I own my property, and we have to create more ownership opportunities for small businesses
Agreed.
to be able to grow and really, and right now it's not about growth. It's about surviving at this moment in time. And we're all very hopeful that with the new administration coming in on the federal level, that there'll be some additional resources, financial resources, and really lifelines for our businesses. For the Stitch House, we've greatly reduced our hours that we're open. We've restricted in-store traffic, both to protect my staff and to protect my customers.
Yes.
And we've really limited our offerings because of the pandemic and the challenges from the pandemic. How have you seen your day-to-day change other than everything is virtual right now?
Well, in a lot of ways, I think that we are doing, I remember, just yesterday, Thanksgiving in itself, even though it wasn't business related, I had back to back Zoom meetings because I have a lot of extended family. I consider my friends to be extended family.
You and me both. I love it.
So one of my extended family is the Bundy Scanlon family that I typically go to for Thanksgiving. And then there is the Griffin McIntosh family that I sometimes switch off and go to also for Thanksgiving. And then there is my own family that I get together with. And then there were friends who just said, let's get together to just toast each other. So I was on at 4, I was on at 5, I was on at 6, and I was on at 7. And by the time I got off, I didn't want to see another Zoom anything. But a lot of the interactions that are taking place in business now is being done virtually. And it's also, I find that what has happened is business has begun to recognize. And remember, you and I are women, so we know, and even though don't have children, I have friends who changed some of their working time so that they could work from home, and it was frowned on when women were doing it. Now we realize everybody is working from home. And you know what, Anissa? People who work from home and are working, you are much more productive. You know why? My day, when my commute time, I couldn't do work. Now I'm up at I'm an early riser, and I start my day at 7. And my day goes on till sometimes 7, 8, 9. I have to beat myself away from my computer. So you're doing longer hours and you're being much more productive. And I think what businesses are recognizing is, one, parents can work from home. So to me, it's a win because you have parents who now have to be homeschooling their kids. So you can be much more flexible. And we are realizing that with all of this glut of real estate that's coming online, we can use that for affordable housing. We have a housing shortage. We have a lot of young people who can't stay in the city, don't stay in Boston because it's too expensive. And, I hate to see that the real estate market is taking a hit, but maybe, just maybe, this will be an opportunity for them to pivot into doing something that could be much more helpful
Right.
to our marketplace and to ensure that families can have a home.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of those sort of the longer lasting impacts, or those will show themselves over the next couple of months, especially. And we know some of the big businesses that occupy a lot of our commercial space in town, for example, they're either not renewing leases or they're shrinking the size of their lease and telling their workforce, don't expect to come back in. At one point it was January of 2021. Now
it's July.
We're here in July and
July,
2022.
August.
And then some job centers, some typical employees, some specific employee tracks are being told that they'll never be in person again, that they will be virtual. So a couple of questions from all of that, though. I worry about our neighborhoods for sure and our economic centers of each of our neighborhoods. But when I think about, too, our downtown core, our downtown crossing, the financial district, into some of our downtown neighborhoods, those commercial entities and businesses really supported those local shops, whether it was the restaurants or the coffee shop or the gift shop. So there's sort of that other impact when businesses aren't going to reopen and office spaces aren't going to reopen. We've got to make sure that we're thinking far enough ahead to either save those businesses,
I agree,
or help them rebrand, redesign, rethink their business model so that they can continue to employ local people. Local businesses, small businesses, are almost 50% of locals have 50% of jobs happen in small businesses.
We are the ones creating the new business, the new opportunities.
Right.
So I am thinking of this period post pandemic as reimagine, restore, and recover.
I love that.
So I'm calling it the 3, because right now we are dealing with what a friend of mine called the 4 Ps: pandemic, protests, politics, and prevention. That's where we are right now. So we're in the 4 Ps. We need to shift, start to be thinking about how do we shift to the 3 Rs? How do we reimagine what business is going to look like? How are we going to keep those business going? And I have to applaud again our the main streets, those organizations that are part of the city of Boston, who really keep the small businesses corralled and together.
And they're going through a process right now of reimagining how they function in the city. Meaning, remind me, Colette, reimagine, restore, what's the third R?
And recover.
Recover. So, and I would add, we've got the 4 Ps, but I'd add, I don't know whether it's a 4th R or a 5th P, but reinvestment. Or pay for it, like we need the cash.
I love that. We need to reinvest in our businesses. And one of the things that I am hoping will happen Counselor, is that those who are in the position, like the venture capital companies, what was interesting is my platform got no VC money, none. It was just, I went to friends that I know, people who I know believe in me, believe in what I do, because my personal core values has always been about lifting up others. Shirley Chisholm said that service is the rent we pay for being here on this earth. And I truly believe that. I feel that my life work and the things that I do in my life is always about social impact. It's less about collect. And even though people might see my face out there, that I'm highly visible, it's not about me. It's about the work and how that work is going to move people along, how it's going to lift up others. This is what this platform that we are talking about is about. And it's free. Let me just say that again. It is
free.
FREE.
I don't
make a dime from this.
But you've created this free platform to uplift, to restore, to help recover, these small businesses that need it. But I want to just back up to what you're saying, Colette, that it's not about you, it's about this work. But I would say there is a lot of people, countless numbers of people who are interested in this work, who might feel some passion to this work, but have been unable to bring it to the next level. Colette Phillips, you have been able to bring it to the next level. So that's why I think you receive the accolades that you do and the recognition that you do, because there's a lot of desire to do this, but you've been able to pull all of these sort of dynamic pieces together and leverage that and leverage your reputation into this bigger, larger impact. And when we think about the social impact, the economic impact, sort of the impact on humanity as a whole, and here in Boston, we've been so grateful to enjoy and reap the benefits of that. Tell me, how have you seen businesses change their models, or how has this, maybe this time, this pandemic, this virtual time, created new opportunities for entrepreneurs?
Well, I will tell you that one of the things that I have seen, it's, again, let me see, the 3 C's. We have the P's, we have the R's, we have the C's. It's collaboration, it's cooperation, and it's communication. And the 4th is community. So you have the collaboration, and I'll tell you what this has done. There are many people who out there who know that my company was just awarded a contract from that we bid on. And I encourage people to go look at the bid, go look at the contract, so they could see the reason why we were able to win this is because I came to this with not only a diverse group of partners, but I also talked about economic equity, which is something that we don't often see when we are talking about, contracts. And this is also, there are many, many wins in this. I collaborated with another minority-owned firm, brought them into the mix, and we collaborated with a 3rd agency, the marketing arm of the city. And people might say, well, why is the mayor thinking about why are they doing our a tourism contract at this time when we are in the middle of a pandemic? Well, when you think about who are the people that are most impacted by the hospitality industry, it's Black and brown people.
Yeah.
They work as the doorman, they work as the housekeeping, they work in the restaurants.
Yep.
They are the people who keep those hospitality industry going. And plus, hospitality and tourism is the third largest contributor to the gross national product of our city. So it is an economic engine. And so we cannot sit around and wring our hands and just wait for the sky to fall out like we are in the Henny Penny, story. We have to begin thinking about how do we reimagine, how do we restore, how do we rebuild, how do we reinvest and engage, and how do we begin to take the community, the neighborhoods, and those companies and organizations in our neighborhoods that people don't often think of as contributing to our hospitality and tourism industry. For example, the Roxbury International Film Festival.
Yes.
There are people who come from all over the country to attend that festival. You have Discover Roxbury. You have restaurants that are in our neighborhood, in your district, Dorchester, where you live. Your district is all of Boston, but people only think, when they think tourism, they think, oh, it's just the Back Bay, Beacon Hill, and the Seaport. No, it's, you have lots of different things that are going on. The Shirley Houston House, who that has on just a few blocks down is where Malcolm X lived. And who knew, when we should be pulling these together to say, here we live in a city that is rich in history. The Boston that people thought of and knew 20 years ago is a new Boston. We are more of a multicultural salad bowl. And we now are 53% people of color. And you have seen that change just in the years you have been on the council. It is now 70% people of color, 80% women. What does that tell you? That we are in the throes of change. And that change we have to be ready for. We have to be willing to use this opportunity to think about, how do we reinvest? And that's one of the things I'm seeing large companies are now thinking about, supplier diversity in a real way. How do we support Black and brown companies? How do we support women-owned businesses? How do we really begin to create an equitable Boston, an inclusive, I call it economic inclusion, which is where we're shifting to. And it's about time. We have to begin to dismantle all of the barriers, the structural, systemic racism that have prevented people from thriving, and also the systemic and structural, gender and women misogyny that has gotten in the way of helping women to advance. And I truly believe in this country that until we are able to correct the racial, the Black-white issue, we are never going to be able to deal with the issues around women, the issues around the Latinx community, the indigenous community, all of the other, the
LGBTQ,
the LGBTQ community. You have to,
and then especially with LGBTQ, if you add color to that.
Absolutely. So we have to have, we need a reckoning, not just a reckoning. We need racial healing, racial reconciliation, and, a racial coming together. And I am hoping that the Biden administration can't boil the ocean. Right. But I think it can be the beginning. When you look at the people he appointed, it reflects the diversity of our country, which is what we should do. Yes, and it's about the reconciliation and the repair. So sort of looking back, another R, and fixing a lot more R's here. We're gonna go through our alphabet, but it's also about the work that we're doing going forward. Yes, you've got to take that corrective measure
and move forward with it while you're repairing backwards, because otherwise we're just stalling. And I really like this term too about economic inclusion. And going back to the tourism piece and thinking about our city, when we thought about tourism in our city, it was about the Freedom Trail, it was about downtown, it was about what was happening in that core. But inclusion means all of the richness that comes from all of our neighborhoods. And there are some newer advertisements I've noticed over the last maybe 2 years at the airport, for example, when you're flying in, celebrating our neighborhoods, because there is so much to offer any visitor, whether it's a historical site, whether it's the birthplace, whether it's a retailer that specializes in ethnic clothing, or a yarn shop. People, when they come to Boston, when I travel, I knit and I sew, I'm looking for those local establishments, those restaurants. To be able to go to Daryl's is, why go to a chain?
Right.
Fine, but no, this is where we need to be, is supporting the local flair. And unfortunately, with this pandemic, the challenge, or the fear I have, is these challenges are creating an atmosphere in which only the big boys will survive. And these mom and pops and these locally owned special establishments are going to
we're in danger of losing a whole generation of entrepreneurs. And I will tell you again, I'm plugging shop local, buy local, go and support small. Why should we do all of our shopping at Amazon?
Right.
I have nothing against Amazon. There are certain things that I get from Amazon.
And there are certain parts of Amazon, if you're careful about it and thoughtful about it, where Amazon, because we're a vendor for Amazon, some of our product, so it's created an opportunity for us. But you've got to be thoughtful.
You have to be thoughtful and intentional.
Very intentional.
Be intentional. So I just think we have to be, thoughtful, intentional, and deliberate.
Very much so. And I think that those are different alphabet letters. But, thinking about the holiday season, thinking about how critical these, few weeks between Thanksgiving and the end of the year are to our local businesses, I ask that residents who are able that they be thoughtful and deliberate about their spending dollars, about where they're investing their money, because you're buying a pair of socks off the shelf. That's a pair of socks, but what you're spending is an investment in that business and in that community. Because when we think about, my boys play a lot of sports, and I think about Little League, and I think about youth soccer, and I think about Pop Warner football. Right. The sponsors are small businesses.
That's right.
Sponsors are not the big boys. And they're the ones that are here hiring our residents, paying better wages than the big guys so often. And they're the ones that continue to invest and reinvest in our communities. And we need to be there for them at this time. So I'm so excited about this platform. Tell us a little bit about who are some of the newer businesses, the newer players that you've connected.
There is a great company that is featured right now. We have 3 companies featured on the front page. Stitch House is one, because I grew up knitting, I love it. I love it. And it's a great time to de-stress, just build a nice blanket, a nice shawl. It's fabulous. And we have Nouveau Fashion Gallery. They are 3 sisters who have had a store in Copley over 30 years. Again, they are impacted because, I just saw that the Glendale Mall has gone out of business. Oh. They have closed down. And then you have So Zed Spa, which is a young millennial woman who basically, she had a business where she actually brought the spa to people's homes and to their workplace. Well, the pandemic and there went her business. So what she decided she would do is create the business online, and she was deliberate and intentional. She curated all of her products from Black owned businesses. And so she's on our site, and she is new, and you can buy products for a gift to people. Same thing with Stitch House, give
Yeah.
people the gift of being able to knit and, buy yarn, and with Nouveau Gallery. We have people on there in Worcester. We have companies from Worcester, companies from Springfield, from Fall River. So we have a range of different businesses. And I love what you said earlier, Counselor, which was buy a gift certificate for a restaurant that people can use post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic, please.
So
Yep.
that you can support these businesses now. And there is so much that all of us can do. I also want to appeal to larger businesses and to people who live in the suburbs, who live in the Welsleys, the Westons, the Newtons. Think about your neighbors, because many of you participated in the Black Lives Matter marches and protests. This is your time to really be a true ally of Black owned, ethnic owned, women owned businesses.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. Show your, show your support through your checkbook.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, because it's a conversation we had at my business, at my shop, around investing in BIPOC product, right?
Yes.
So thinking about
Yes.
investing in, and there is this, I think, impression that when you allocate shelf space to Black and women-owned business products, when you're allocating resources and dollars and mind share, that there's this feeling that it's like tokenism,
Right.
when it is high quality product, that you're just being thoughtful and intentional about how you're spending your money. And we went through as a staff at my shop, a real conversation around being intentional about that investment. And
Yes.
so there are some resources and links to find designers and yarn fiberists that are BIPOC, right? And we went through those lists, and some of the product wasn't good. And so we moved on to the next, and high quality product. There's an assumption that it's not
absolutely
not worthy of shelf space, when it by far is often superior to the product that you just thought was the best to have on your shelves.
Thank you for saying that, because often, again, that is part of how we have to begin to help people to shift their thinking, to really begin to look through the lenses. Everything that you do, if you really want to be an ally, a BIPOC ally, gender ally, you have to now look at everything through an equity lens and ask the question, would you be questioning this if it were a white-owned company? And, white products are not always the best or the greatest, but you don't not buy from a white distributor or company because you had one bad experience. So why would you be turned off if you had one bad experience with a BIPOC or a woman-owned business? No, you said, okay, that was one experience. Let's move to the next person, and make that, part of your racial commitment, your gender commitment.
And one thing I would add, and I think this is particular to gender, and both of us are women in business, that I find too that women-owned businesses, with the women in leadership roles, are also more open to improving if there is a quality issue around a particular product, or there's quality around questions around service, that women are much more interested and much more engaged in improving whatever it is that they're doing for business, whether it's a service or a product. There's a real commitment to wanting to hear about that and be engaged in improving that product.
Absolutely agree.
And then for me, the other piece I'd add is, as a Dorchester girl, is this buying local, is this shopping local.
Oh, yes. Local. Shop local, buy local.
And buy with thoughtfulness and real directedness. So we also talked, the mall piece is really, so thinking about the sisters and the impact of their business, because if they're in a mall, they're already paying, a pretty high rent, I imagine. So making sure that we're continuing to support those businesses that are especially difficult spots. But I want to go back. We talked a lot about sort of the changes in reality. What new businesses have come out of this pandemic that you see as opportunities for entrepreneurs?
What
new businesses, like entrepreneurs take a crisis and turn it into something else? Have we seen, the one thing that I know that I've invested some money in because I spend so much time on Zoom are these, the silly little lights. And,
yes, I have my light right here.
But there are these new business opportunities that have been created because of this pandemic. Where have you seen something? Have you seen anything new in the marketplace?
Well, I think, again, it's the pivoting of people. I did in the beginning, Don't Panic Pivot. I think people are now thinking about how do they, if you think about all these institutions, at one point there were only 2 major colleges and institutions of higher ed. That was Southern New Hampshire University and Phoenix University.
I know where you're going.
Basically made a business out of, which I thought, well, that makes sense because one, it is much more attractive for busy people, and people can be taught. They don't have to spend money to move all the way across country to get their degrees. Now, every single university and institution of higher ed, if you are not offering online teaching, then you are, God help you.
Done.
So that in itself are new opportunities. People are now, once upon a time, only certain people were offering webinars.
Mm-hmm.
Now webinars have become as regular as Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, you have thousands.
What we're doing here today, we might have held this in a forum setting or in a coffee shop or in a community room.
Exactly.
But now we're, I think, able to reach so many more people too.
And I think one of the things that I have seen is the fact that, and it gives me great hope. I have seen a lot of white-owned businesses now reaching out for partnership with women-owned and BIPOC-owned businesses and recognizing there are things we can do together. And I'm going to come back on with you in January because I figure during this time, I have to say that, like most entrepreneurs, we're risk takers.
Yes.
That's why we got into business in the first place. And we are also innovators. Nobody goes into business thinking, I'm going into here, and if I fail, I fail. The only person I think who does that is the president of the United States, but that's another subject matter.
One that we hopefully won't be talking about much longer.
Exactly. So here is something that I can speak for myself. There were things that I have always wanted to do, but didn't quite have the time, didn't quite have the investors interested. And now when during this pandemic, it has given me an opportunity to reimagine, rebuild, and rethink some things that I can do and do differently. So I have actually partnered up with another company, and that company is white owned, and we are now working together, and we are gonna roll out and make a more public announcement at the beginning of 2021 and kick that off. And it is something again that is very much needed. And then there is another piece of this business that I'm going to launch in 2021, and it's really again all about supporting small businesses. But we are in the quiet phase now, and we will go very public in January.
Yeah,
But,
and I think
but
that's really great. And you've talked a lot today about the importance of partnership, and how
absolutely.
when you're collaborating and cooperating and working in partnership with others, it's A, good for business, and B, you're helping both organizations, both
exactly
grow and learn, because you can't, none of us are experts. I think about my staff at City Hall. I have a particular passion in certain spaces.
Yes.
And when I lack, you need to bring people to the table to work in partnership to fill those gaps, to teach you so you can learn them and build maybe a new expertise. But they bring that a certain passion about those other things, the other pieces that are missing, those other components, right? I'm adding to our P's, partnership and passion. Because,
right.
As entrepreneurs, as self-starters, passion is critical, but sometimes you don't have all the tools. And so
I call it passion, partnership, and purpose.
I love it. And purpose. And we speak back to the service, and you've got to be in service to one another. Because then I think too, without that purpose and without that fulfilling that need to serve others, you'll never be fulfilled in business.
Absolutely.
Over the long haul.
Absolutely. It's never all about you. And nobody, Maya Angelou says, can make it in this world on their own. We all need people. When I think about this, I think about that song in that movie, Funny Girl, where it said, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. It's true. We all need people.
And I think that's what's become so hard with the pandemic, is this isolation and not being with others, whether, where you and I think are true social butterflies and want to be with people. But even if you're introverted, it's still a very difficult time because there's such isolation, which leads me to another question. You talked a little bit earlier about starting your day at 7 a.m. and then, trying to kick yourself off the computer at 7 p.m. That becomes a long day. It's a productive day. But with everything on the computer, everything on the phone, all of this technology that we're now relying on, how do you create a balance for yourself to unwind, to shut down?
Yes.
As business owners, you do jump in with both feet and you absorb yourself in your work because it's your passion, because it's your purpose. But you do have to find times to unwind and decompress and disconnect. How do you do that for yourself, Colette?
For me, the weekends, I unplug. Like I do tomorrow. I have a 12:30 acupuncture treatment.
Very good.
I'm gonna get, from Dr. Jim Lee. He is over in Charlestown, so I'm going to go visit him. He is a small business owner. He's Asian, and I'm supporting his business. I'm a meditator. I'm an insomniac. I consider a friend of mine. We call ourselves the Vampire Girls because we are up at 3, 4 in the morning. I'm shooting her an email, and she's like, "You're up, I'm up." So we get on the phone and we talk. But I meditate, and I find meditation is a great way to kind of de-stress. It centers you and it connects you with what I call mind, body, spirit. It's very important to do the work that you do, to do the work that I do, anything about serving people. You need to be healthy emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, because you cannot be helpful to others if you are not healthy yourself.
Yeah.
So that is something that I do. And the other thing that I find is massages. You know, I get massages even during this pandemic. I know that my massage company, it's a group of all women.
Oh, wow.
And they're called Rolling River. They've been around for over 30 years. It's a group of, some of them have even retired. And so younger women have come into the group. And I have been working with them for over 20 years.
What's the name of your group? Rolling
River.
Rolling River. I love it.
Yes. And so they come. I even have my own massage table. I invested in that many years ago because it makes it easy for them to come over during the winter months, because they don't have to drag their stuff. They just show up. We set up my table, do the massage, and they leave. They set the table down. I wheel it into my back room, and they leave, and you know, that's it.
That's great.
So a massage therapy, taking care of yourself, self-care is very important. And I want to, before we close, I want to encourage people during this season, please reach out to friends, people who live alone. You just don't know what's going on in people's lives. And not everybody is able to handle this, you know, pandemic. And there are people who are in states of panic or anxiety, and we just don't know what it's just good to just do a check-in call, do a wellness call, and make sure that your friends are doing okay.
And I'd add to that, I think that's so important. What a great message to wrap up our conversation today. Don't you know your friends the best, and don't let them just say everything's fine.
Yes, exactly.
Create that space to share more and create that time to hear more. And I know for me, I certainly, especially like the spring was difficult when we first went into shutdown. The summer was a little bit easier. And then I thought, we're going to be done with this soon. And then the fall hit, and the fall, I think, hit me harder than the spring did. And I certainly find myself more anxious, more agitated, a little bit more angry, not angry, but just, you know, flustered and easily frustrated with my kids, with the new dog, with the husband, with the work sometimes. And there's a lot going on, and we have to take it easy on ourselves.
So
we also have to check in with each other and make sure that we're creating space, especially for people that we care about, to unload and to share sort of what's bothering them and what's difficult for them. I'm so bummed out. I really love the tree lightings that we do around the holidays in the city. I've often gotten picked on a little bit for going to all of them. And I love, they feel like fuel, because in our work, they're a difficult day. And so I use things like tree lightings as fuel. They're silly, but they're all happy. They're very positive, and you're bringing a moment of joy to a neighborhood when you light that tree. And you need that. You need those times, and because the times are different, you've got to find ways to fuel yourself. So, I knit, I do my sewing. You take my little trick is my weekends are generally busier than my week. So I typically take like the first half of Mondays. I try not to schedule anything, because Mondays are always a terrible day anyway. So I get my slow roll for my morning wake up. but that physical activity, exercise is really important.
Yes.
And taking time to just be is okay. Is okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm so excited. The conversation went so quickly, but we're at our end, and I just really appreciate you and all that you're doing. And I hope that those that have viewed today or will view this recording will visit the GK Market and shop local and spend your money local. And Colette, it's always great to talk to you, and I can't wait to do it in January.
I know.
But I do hope everyone listening today enjoyed this conversation and this preview of what we'll be doing around this community impact series. You can submit your suggestions for organizations, for people, for initiatives to be featured on this in the next year by visiting the bit.ly/Anisa Lunch. As you know, today is Black Friday, and that marks the beginning of the holiday shopping season. Tomorrow is Small Business Saturday. You don't have to wait till tomorrow to shop local, to spend local. Please support our local businesses this year with your holiday shopping if you're able. Every little bit helps for sure. We're actually going to play a game. I'll do some social media posts as I shop for my family, my sisters, my kids, my friends this holiday season. I want to know where you want me to go. But if you own a small business, register to join the GK Market. This is a great resource for you, and we'll add the registration link to this comment section. And before I close, I do want to share some of the resources that Colette mentioned that are available here for small businesses in our city. Every Saturday for the rest of the year, the city will provide free 2-hour parking in all commercial districts to encourage shopping local. Every Tuesday at 3 p.m., the Office of Small Business Development has a conference call on Zoom to provide updates on their COVID-19 resources and to take questions from local business owners. You can find that Zoom information on our Facebook page, which we'll also link to the chat. And then the city's Reopen Boston Fund grants are still available for small businesses to help purchase PPE and other safety tools. Grant applications are being reviewed and approved on a rolling basis. The application is available in multiple languages. Learn more at boston.gov/reopen fund. Next Friday, December 4th, we'll be back to our regular broadcast for a conversation about ethnic studies curriculum from Katie Lee from the Boston Teachers Union Ethnic Studies Now Committee. And following that, next week, the week after, on December 7th, I'll be chairing a Boston City Council hearing I sponsored to review the curriculum standards and ethnic studies for the Boston Public Schools. We'll be sharing those links on all of our social media platforms. Colette, thank you so much for being with us. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, and happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays. Have a great weekend. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.